All right, welcome. We're going to start our first presentation in track 2. We are very honored to have a very difficult name to say, Olivier Bilodeau, and he is going to speak on a presentation from RDP to D&D, Unparalleled Remote Desktop Monitoring Reveal Attackers Tradecraft. So we are very honored and welcome to have, and I'll turn it over. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. You guys hear me all right? I'm Mike. All right, that sounds good. Perfect. So this is the standalone or by myself presentation of something we did at Black Hat USA this year with Andréane Bergeron. So first, before we get into the content, I want to acknowledge that this research would have been impossible without Andréane. And so Andréane is kind of the Gandalf of the research. She is the knowledgeable, the most powerful character of this story. Unfortunately, she isn't here. And because of my kids, I started playing with Snapchat recently. And so I wondered how Gandalf would look like as a woman, because Andréane is obviously a woman. And so this is, with a Snapchat filter, how she looks like. But so if Andréane is Gandalf, who am I then? Well, I'm the Gollum of this presentation, okay? I am, and why Gollum? It's because I am just obsessed with RDP, okay? I've been working 4 years intercepting RDP and developing open source tooling around intercepting RDP. At first, I started it for red teaming purposes, like red teaming and pen testing, like to attack from an attacker standpoint, attack the client side of it, use it in scenarios where we would compromise organizations. But then, as I was playing with it, I realized that there was a lot of value in it through honeypots. So for understanding criminals, and I'm going to get to that, but this is what this presentation is about. But Gollum, it's because I'm so obsessed with the RDP ring to the point that I am broken. I can't talk about anything else than RDP. The precious RDP. So the talk is going to be about Dungeons and Dragons, nerdiness and puns and stuff like that. But why did I think that it could work, that it could be accepted at conferences like here, right? It's because of Stranger Things last summer, who really did a well integration of D&D inside of their world. And it's from the season 1, but season 4 they were like literally playing D&D. So I thought we could pull it off. And then the movie that came out this year, Honor Among Thieves, they are like the character classes are well interlaced in the story and stuff. But I want to say that in a true like old school D&D fashion, the pop culture reference ends here. Like this is like character classes and weapons and stuff. It's no Stranger Things imagery. It's all custom image that we had an artist do for us for this presentation. So the quest today is going to be, I'm going to introduce you to RDP interception because you might not be familiar with it and what we are able to achieve and show you how it looks like. Then we, over 3 years, studied people attacking our systems. So we're going to go over 5 broad areas of how they do their craft. This covers over 190 million events, by the way. We're going to look at the tool that they use, and then we're going to highlight some specific sessions that are like interesting on their own. So here are the characters that we will look at today. 5 of them. One of them is well hidden. And so let's start with the context. So RDP is a targeted protocol, very attacked. It's the second ransomware vector after phishing attacks. So it's, ripe for being studied if you want to understand adversaries. I started first, attracting adversaries using Telnet and SSH. I actually wrote the Telnet implementation of Cowrie, the first draft. Someone else made it better after. But at that time, to track a specific strain of malware. And what is disappointing by running these types of honeypots, if you have done so, you'll agree, I'm pretty sure, is it's just a ton of files that you're getting, but it's all the same, more or less, malware and it's all automated. There's almost no human behind these things. It's all bots running on their own. RDP is the total opposite. It's like 100% human. They move the mouse. There is ways to interact with RDP using automation, but I'm telling you, like we watched over 100 hours, and they are moving the mouse. They are copy and pasting stuff, and you'll agree. Because of that, to understand adversaries, it's a lot more relevant protocol. It's right for intelligence collection about adversaries. Now, if you've never heard of RDP, by now you're like, what's this talk about? So just to be really super clear, like ground level explanation, the RDP is like the left-hand side. This is the client. So you type in a host, and or an IP address, and then you click connect, and you authenticate, and then you manage a computer remotely. And so we slide in between and intercept all of that. The tool is called PyRDP. It's been 4 years in development, so it's a monster in the middle engine and does interception, record everything. We temper. So the tempering bit, for example, we will actively steal clipboard updates from client. So the way the protocol works is that the client notifies the server that there's a new clipboard available, and in the tempering engine, we always say, I need it right now, right? And same works for files when you share a drive or when you use drag and drop to drop files on the destination. And so we record everything, and we also JSON log a lot of stuff. But there is also a player, and the player allows you to rewatch everything. So it's very interesting for investigations. I'm going to show you what it looks like. So here we go. That's the RDP, the PyRDP player. So here is going to be where you'll see the display. Now this is the mouse pointer. It's a little yellow dot. We have a big screen here. That's going to be good. On the bottom, you have like metadata about the connection. This is where the clipboard shows up in real time. And here, we're going to zoom in. You see when you connect, you get username, password, domain, host, like really RDP metadata. Now we have someone connecting. So this is the recording, the way it starts. We instantly stole his clipboard, which is the IP address that he connected to. This is often the case. Now we see him type interactively. He's typing to open a tool. And then we see he's resetting the administrator password. And we see the administrator password because we have keyboard access, right? And so all of this is collected on someone's connecting to the computer. He shared his C drive with the honeypot, and now he's listing it, and we also collect the data. So we can aggressively steal files, but we're not doing it right now on purpose because we fill hard drives with that. We are collecting the file transfer right now, but the tooling allows that, right? It's built in. It's just you need to enable it. But so now he is drag and dropping a cryptominer, and we are collecting what he is drag and dropping. So basically, what we saw is a surveillance cameras for Windows system, right? How can this not change the game regarding online adversaries? Now, the honeypot, how we built it, we put the tooling in front of a real Windows system. Fairly dangerous, you need to monitor it. I have like on my phone, I can destroy the honeypots. I built like pipelines to be able to do that. So if I get abuse notifications and stuff like that. But so, and everything else is firewalled. So you cannot get to that system unless you pass through our tool. If you want to learn more about PyRDP, I've been talking about it since 4 years in an offensive context, defensive context. There are tons of links. The GitHub repository has links to most of that stuff, and the slides that are going to be available were all going to be clickable in the PDF, so you can refer to it. Now, today, the D&D, the character classes, what are we going to talk about? Well, first, what did we watch? What did we collect? So this is a timeline. So since 2020 up to now, these are the events, at the bottom. You're lucky because most places I do this talk, they're not able to see the bottom line. But so the map covers like actual sessions where they were able to log in. So these are not attacks or credential attempts or like hits on the RDP port. These are people who logged in the system and interacted with it. A lot of Panama, I want to study that. I'm not sure. Like it's most likely proxies. We have ways to like understand beyond proxies. RDP leaks a lot of stuff and not a lot of adversaries know. Like for example, time zone is part of the RDP protocol. It's embedded in the connection. And so we could like correlate, does the time zone in the connection make sense with Panama? And if it doesn't, then try to dig further. But so this is 190 million events. We captured a ton of hashes. So every connection attempt will generate a net NTLM v2 hash. We captured 21 million of them. We cracked 3 million of them out of an experiment. There's a blog post about that if you're interested. We quickly, I have time, so I'm taking it. Usually I'm not talking about stuff like that. But out of the 20 million hash, the thing I want to say is we found something that is different than other security companies said. The security companies say, oh, everything they try is part of the big breach, the collection one breach, or the big one, right? And our findings are totally opposite. Like out of 3 million hashes, we cracked like 2.6 million of them successfully. And it was almost always custom. It was like iteration around the name of the certificate of the RDP. Like we used it's called offshore bank, the certificate that we used. And it was all like around, computer generated, but around the offshore bank topic. So for us, they are really targeting, they're tailoring their brute force attempt to the target, which is different than what others publish. We had out of that 2.6 thousand successful logins, 500 files transfers more or less, and 2,400 sessions were captured. Now, out of those 2,400 sessions, we found 95 more or less attackers, because session is one time, they disconnect and they reconnect, so it's a different sessions. But we correlated them based on username and password, IP address. But so if they log in, change the admin password to something custom, and they get back in, we assume that it's a related attacker. In some cases, it looks like they sold the credentials to other, because we had like someone sophisticated and then someone really not sophisticated, and you'll see what I mean by that. But so we studied 339 sessions of interest, and this is over 100 hours of videos. So this is where Gandalf comes in and like watches all of it and really like takes solid notes about what's happening in the sessions. I watched maybe 15 hours of these 100 hours, and of sessions of interest, I was brought in, to give my expertise, what I think about it. And so inside of these 100 hours, we wanted to map this to the attack framework. And what we have is mostly discovery-related activities, some reconnaissance, so scanning other systems, even online, right? So we didn't give a fake corporation. We gave like basically a standalone system. And so as soon as the adversaries were realizing that this was not a company and there was no lateral movement possible, they would then scan the rest of the internet. And I have like theories about why that I'm going to cover later. Now, if we go about those character classes, okay, get back to them. The first one I want to talk about is hidden here very well. And it's the Rangers. So Rangers, they explore the system, they do reconnaissance, they might be evaluating the system for others, they might resell systems. But so here's what, they're not doing anything meaningful. Like they're really like Rangers, they're scouts, if you want, like doing the exploration. So here's what it looks like. Here he drops 2 files on the desktop. He or she, I don't know, to be honest. It drops 2 files on the desktop and then copy and paste intel that was generated by one of the tool, and then copy and paste intel that is generated by another tool. What I like about the second tool is that it's a JSON payload. So the first tool is like text, right? So okay, he copy and paste text in what, right? A notepad or whatever. How is that useful? But the second tool, it being a JSON payload, I feel like there's a tool chain, right, that we don't see here. Like the JSON payload goes in a file somewhere, something interprets it, and then, classified that compromised system as something that they might get back to or whatever. And so, as a cleanup step, he just deletes the files and then get out of the system. So these typical Ranger operations, what we usually see also is like opening the file explorer to look for files, and then walking around and seeing what's on the system. Next up are the thieves. So thieves will monetize the RDP access using a lot of stuff, more than I expected. I expected only like cryptominers and stuff like that, but no, we're talking like proxyware. So proxyware is a class of grayware, I would say. Like they are not malware, but a lot of AV and endpoint EDRs will classify them as such. But they are basically using your computer to proxy traffic, and you get paid for that. So kind of like old school, like I don't want to pay for the internet, I have banners. It's like similar type, grayware. These are the traf monetizer type stuff, but it's like Trend Micro is doing really good studies around these tools, and they labeled it proxyware, and I like the name. I think it reflects really well what it's doing. And then there's the cryptominer, but there's also like traffic generators is the browsers that gets you into pay-to-surf schemes. So these are like you get a little bit of crypto as you browse the internet, and there's a revenue sharing model. So they install stuff like that as well. So here's how it looks like. What's interesting about this video is the first one you notice that is on a portrait mode. And we were like, why is there portrait mode RDP clients? And then we looked at the resolution, and we looked at phones, and we looked at how many pixels the RDP client on a phone takes, and we had a perfect match. So we know, like this is a Samsung with the RDP. I think it's top and bottom. There are some pixels for the RDP software. And so basically, a lot of the adversaries are using phones when they are attacking our honeypots, which is really interesting because it explains a lot of stuff. Like, why are they doing so much inside the RDP and not doing more outside of it? Because they reveal so much, as you'll see through many videos today. But so this is a traf monetizer. So in order to download the software and have it put money into your account, you need a token. You need to put a token in. So he basically logs in that system and then put in the token in the software that he installed. And here we are highlighting like the money that is made. And it's not a lot. It's a currency that is not US, and it's not worth a lot. So these are basically pennies, by day and stuff that they are doing. But if they do it at scale, then they might be making some money. Next up is the crypto miner. So a lot of them are using XMRig, very popular among criminal circles, because it will do like CPU type mining, which this doesn't have a GPU, so it makes sense. And so, but he's putting in his wallet like straight in the honeypot. Maybe one day I'll retire because I will catch an adversary so rich that I'm not going to need to work anymore. To be honest, I'm too ethical to do stuff like that. But, there's a price point. For me, thieves are really interesting because this is a very good example about what cybercrime is about. in most cases, they're not after a specific organization. They're just after making money, and you happen to be that organization, right, that falls victims. I know there's a lot of targeted attackers, and I mean, there's a lot of military around here, and this is not the same type of adversary. You know, threat modeling is complex, but for, you know, exposed RDP systems online, I was not surprised at all to see this type of behavior. Next up are the Barbarians. Hard to miss. So, Barbarians, they just brute force their way into more computers. They scan horizontally, so, you know, identify other RDP systems, and then they scan vertically. They try credentials, and they just like pound the system until they get in, using two different tools that we will see. So, the big thing that they use is mass scan, Robert Graham's mass scan, very powerful and fast scanner that we're going to cover also in the arsenal section of the talk. But so they don't use the command line, they use a GUI wrapper that allows you to choose, like it's kind of convenient, allows you to target a specific country. They like, in the tool, put in like country, and will adapt the network ranges. I don't know how they extracted it, but most likely it's automatable via Whois databases or ARIN or whatever. And then it launches, it just prepares the command line for you if you want. So you just push a button and then you get your scan. And it's fast, and they're scanning tons of systems out there, and they are also like, they're doing 3389, but they will do like 13389, 23389, and stuff like that. So it is something that they do a lot. Next up are the wizards. Wizards are interesting, and like we labeled them as wizards because of they use the RDP access to access other RDP systems. So like portals, or like, you know, jumping through hosts, hiding their traces, and they will also, in most cases, not deploy any tool, anything that could be linked to malware, or like anything that has hits on VirusTotal. So they use MSTRC, the RDP client, which means that from a log perspective, they are hard to detect. They are like hard or impossible, right? So in this session, so this is a captured session. So in the captured session, they are using RDP to connect to, here we saw ghost user mentioned, which is something that comes back often that we will see later. But so inside that system, now he minimizes it and then focus the window on a credential brute forcing attempt that is going on. And so performing credential brute forcing on one system, connecting to another one, performing credential brute forcing, minimizing it. So he's basically building a dashboard of his hacking attempts, you know, looking at it from behind another. And this is all about hiding your trace, right? You're jumping through compromised systems, which makes you a lot harder to go after. Anyone who collaborated with law enforcement on takedown attempts, you'll know, like every hoop on another ISP provider is just harder because you need to collaborate with more people, get the logs, hope that they will be kind with you and comply. And so this is the wizard scanning via system, other systems. And these are all like wizard type activities that we clustered together. Now last of the characters, but not least, is the Bard. So the Bard is arguingly a small contributor. This is actually a D&D joke. It's not true. I know I'll get hatred for that. But it's like, oh, you're a Bard. Like, what do you do really? Like, and even in the movie, they like assume it. It's like you make plans that fails, right? This is what you do. And so the Bard for our story is like my favorite character because it does stuff that you would just not expect. So Googling about hacking inside the compromised system, not outside of it, right? And watching some porn, downloading movie. We think that they might have bought the access via, forums, Telegram, whatever, because they needed it to perform other activities. But let's see what it looks like. And so we're back to a phone format for Bards. It's not surprising to me. So this person is like Googling in Arabic the strongest virus ever, and then hoping that Google will give it the strongest virus ever so that he can compromise that system. Unfortunately, he falls on a page describing computer viruses. So this is where the text is. So he's disappointed, go back to Google and types virus script. Like he's like, I'm going to get this now. And so now we have like how to write DDoS attempt, how to write Python code. He abandoned and then switched straight to porn. He tries porn.com first, sex.com second, sex.org third, Iranian porn is fourth. And then he will go on YouTube and search for porn on YouTube. Like Pornhub on YouTube. Like, this is disappointing. But, there was, so the way we decided to attack looking at the sessions, we started with the largest file size first, okay? So, because we did that, we had all the porn. So basically, RDP is very optimized, and it will tile the whole window in tiles, and will reuse aggressively, cache and reuse the content. So if you use Explorer, a command line, a browser for regular sites, your capture files will not be large. But if you watch movies or porn, the capture size will be super big, okay? So we started an investigation by going by file size, big from small. And so we were really disappointed at first, like to the level that we had to involve HR. Like I told HR, like we are not watching porn at work. We're like investigating attackers, and like if the employees looking at the captures disagree, I can put them on other tasks. Like I'm not forcing them to go through the weird porn that we're seeing. Fortunately enough, the porn was very vanilla. It was like really regular porn. So it went well. But now we were like wondering at some point, like, why porn? And then we thought about it and we figured it out. It was coming from mostly Middle East countries, and we think that it's to avoid censorship. VPSs are blocked in these countries. VPNs are blocked in these countries. And, a VPS, like $10 US a month for a VPS, it's probably might be too much for a lot of people. And so a compromised RDP system is probably useful. And what tipped us off is one actor was downloading the movies, right? At Pornhub, you have a download feature. I didn't know. I realized when I was watching that. So we're thinking, like, there's also, so this is kind of a Bard thief, multi-class character, I guess. So he would, like, download the movies, and then he could put that on USB key and sell it in his country, right? Like we used to sell pirated games when we were kids on CD. You get a friend with a burner CD. I'm old, I'm sorry. But so we think that this is what's happening here. They were not like fapping live. They were like downloading or selling or reusing the porn. So how do we like it's fun to talk about Bards, but Bards are not that relevant, right? It just happens to be the way we sorted files. We were inundated by Bards at first, but so most of them are Rangers and Barbarians, and then you have like the Thieves and the Wizards. But a lot of it, like if we would deploy our honeypots elsewhere than DigitalOcean, Amazon, we would get different results for sure. So this is biased towards our experience running them. There is some overlap, so some multi-class characters, as I mentioned earlier. So the Thieves and the Barbarians and the Rangers and the Wizards and the Bards, they all of the classes have shown different behaviors. Again, this is clustered based on source IP and password. So if the password was changed, someone connected after showed a different behavior. But this also shows the specialization in hacking, right? One person gets in, he does the reconnaissance, and then, okay, that system is in this category, passes the puck to someone else who gets in and then does his thing. So it's interesting finding to do, and we are definitely going to dive deeper in that area in the future. Now, let's talk about some of the weaponry that we found. These are interesting because they are things that defenders can act upon, right? You can detect the hashes, and you can understand now, oh, if I see this tool, it means that it's the first step in worse activities, right? And that you must not downplay the presence of tools like this in your environments. So we built like little spec sheets for the tooling, and we aim to do Sigma rules. So I suck at Sigma rules. I'm learning to do them, but I would like I don't like hashes as a detection methodology. You know, it's so easy to change a hash. So my aim is to build Sigma rules for all of the tooling that we're talking about today. And I mean, I think some of them already trigger some of the popular open source Sigma rules, but I would like to have them more narrow. But so here, this xDedzik RDP patch is a strange tool because it's focused, it has a graphical interface. They almost all have graphical interface, by the way, which is interesting in itself. But so, it is, it does like two things. It creates an admin user, and it patches RDP to remove the limitation on desktop operating system that you can only have one session at a time. So this is done via like popular. It's like it's not even binary DLL patching. Like it puts a layer on top in front of the RDP connection. So it survives OS updates, and it doesn't blue screen your system. It's kind of well done. And it relies on an open source like GitHub binary that it drops and then executes. But so these two functions combined is you really, it feels like crimeware, right? They're combining two unrelated features in a super easy to use click, click, click binary. And the group behind, the xDedzik group, was taken down a couple years ago. But still, the tool, like, it's a binary file and it's on Windows, so it's going to work forever until they, like, re-architect RDP. But until they do that, it's going to work. And so, and it's well detected, I want to add. So this is used by Rangers, but Ghost user, we saw it earlier, used by Wizards to connect to other systems. So it's a very commonly used persistence tool. Next up is NLBrute. So NLBrute is a multi-threaded brute forcing tool dedicated to RDP. It's a lot better than what is open source. However, if you are in pen test, I would never run this on my system. I tried reverse engineering it, and it's like packed like crazy. It probably has backdoors, or some of them do. I mean, it's a reverse engineering challenge in itself, but it is very efficient compared to the open source offerings that I know about. There are many variants of it, so it was copy protected. It got cracked, and so there are some cracked versions online that you can find. We collected like I think 12 different samples, and or around this like 10 area, and we uploaded the ones that were not on VirusTotals to VirusTotal, and they were so 3 of them were previously unseen, I would say, samples because they were not on VirusTotal, and these ones, like the lowest detection ratio, it's all like the garbage false positive AI stuff. Like the ones that were the less detected were not detected by CrowdStrike, ESET, F-Secure, Kaspersky. So some of these tools are not are like under the radar, the way they were repacked. Fortunately for us defenders, the Russian author was arrested. He was selling attack tool chains, and he was arrested and extradited this year. So The tool will exist because it's efficient and its function doesn't need change, but it will not see updates. Next up is the Mascan GUI. We've seen it before, and I talked about it during the video, so not much to add. There is an advanced mode variant that is described on hacking forums, but it's behind a paywall, so I don't know what it does that is more advanced. It's probably like has a backdoor or whatever. But so the advanced mode variant, I haven't studied it much more than that. But it's basically exposing a lot of attacker-focused options in a GUI for the Robert Graham's original Mascan. This tool here is interesting. Silver Bullet is it's kind of a burp, but for black hat. And what I like about it is that it's they're trying like it's on GitHub. They're trying to be legit or to look like it's legit, but there's nothing legit about it. So it comes with like pre-made configuration kits. So you don't even need to do your own like web, scraping or like scripting language. Like, okay, I'm trying this, and then if this is the response, I'm gonna do that and whatever. So the configuration kits are shared on Telegram. They're like PayPal brute force, or not brute force, but credential stuffing. Spotify credential stuffing. YouTube credential stuffing. And when I say like clearly little legitimate use is they have a banner. So Open Bullet and Silver Bullet, it's like a fork of one another. But so they have a banner saying like, oh, it's scraping and automated pen testing. But when you look at the GUI, like the tabs, the top level concept are proxies, not a proxy, hundreds of proxies. Like it's meant to spider through hundreds of IP addresses in order to reach the victim, in order to prevent being blocked when you do credential stuffing attempt. Word lists, like these are not concepts that you see in Burp that are top level concepts, right? Word lists, so usernames and password that you want to try. And then if the screenshot, like at the bottom, this is the configs page. At the bottom, you see like proxies. Are we going to use proxy? Yes, no. Captchas. Are we going to solve captchas? Yes, no. And then there's even OCR and CF for Cloudflare. So there is like, is the config built to bypass Cloudflare? Is the config built to do OCR to solve captchas? So it is like really like a black hat stuff. And then in their disclaimer, what I like is that they took a lot of care not to reveal that it's a black hat tool, but in the disclaimer, bam, they forgot that they're trying to look legit. It just says, credential stuffing on sites you don't know own is illegal. Don't use this, right? They basically, like, this is what it's for. It's credential stuffing of websites. And so we are, again, another classic case of we put the label for research purposes only, and we're stopping everything. It can stay on GitHub. It's not deleted from GitHub because it's written for research purpose only. Thank you. Now, next up is I'm going to cover or end the tools section by two tools that are, or maybe, no, I have another one. I have three more. But two of them is Defender disabling Defender, which are interesting tools. This one here leverages, so Vim on Windows is like how the operating system is packaged. If you want to do a POS or an ATM using Windows, you go at this level of the Windows packaging, like auto unattend stuff, and you remove the components that you don't need, that you don't want. And so this leverages that functionality to unhide the Defender features, remove them, and then reapply the filter so that AV doesn't panic. But this requires a reboot for Defender to be disabled because it's like removed at the OS level. And I have to be honest with you, it doesn't work on Windows 11. I tried it, like latest image from Microsoft, and it didn't work. But on Windows Server 2016, which is what our honeypots are, it worked wonderfully. And it has a 0 detection ratio on VirusTotal. So completely undetected. But I uploaded it, so hopefully this is going to be eventually detected, or it's probably right now. But so I didn't expect, in my previous open source stuff that I did, I was trying to build malware reverse engineering environments, and I was trying to automate it. And removing Defender was always the hard step because of temper protection and stuff. And so I was surprised by how elegant this solution was, and the fact that since it relies on legitimate operating system functionality, it's going to be hard to prevent or to block. Next up is Defender Control. So this is a tool that is distributed legitly on a website, and it's just a GUI, one click, you can disable Defender. It's packed and it's shady. Like, I wouldn't recommend people using it. But the software vendor offering it has a lot of other tools, so it could be, clean, I guess. But so it was very well documented by the DFRI report. So when I realized that, I stopped there and I referred to their blog instead. But it is an interesting tool, and this works on Windows 11, so it works everywhere still. And we've saw this tool used by the Locus ransomware group, so we know that it's seeing crimeware related activity. The last tool we're going to talk about today is phishing tool. Graphical phishing toolkit has a lot of functionality around phishing, including testing the SMTP endpoint, so it does the email sending on its own, but also like for variable replacement and stuff, templates. So it's called Gamadine Mailer, and it again another tool that is clearly has, like, it's not for marketing purposes. Let me tell you, like, it's too weird to be used for that. And but it could be spamming, not just phishing, spear phishing. It could be spamming. It probably comes from spam. It's interesting because it was not detected by CrowdStrike, ESET, F-Secure, Kaspersky, and Microsoft when we uploaded it. And the fact that it's not detected by like these big brands, AV, I think is a hint that it should be like as part of an early alarm system. Like if you have stuff like that has very little legitimate use, then you know that something's off. There's a lot more tooling that we saw, but a lot are variations of stuff that we covered today. So we might dive into some of the other things later, but at the same time, again, keyport scan is clearly just a variant of mass scan GUI, and so yeah, so a lot of stuff to further study. Now, if we want to do some classification, so the tools, like most of them, is scanning and attack. There's some monetization, some enablement. Communication here is like 100% Telegram. They would install Telegram on their machine. So now I promised you some interesting sessions. Let's go over them. Here we have a case of someone downloading NLBrute, okay? But he copied and pasted on his clipboard a message, and we're like, okay, what's the message? So he says in Arabic, why did you delete all applications? So, and with a broken heart. So for us, this leads us to, thank you, to the fact that they work in team, right? This is an example of puck passing right there. I'm Canadian, so all my analogies are through hockey. But so we were like, oh, okay, wow, they work in team, and they have feelings too, So another one interesting. So this is Google Ads. He's trying to compromise the credit card information to register an account. But then he gets an error message and he doesn't know what to do. And so he goes on Google Translate on his phone in the environment and translate the error message to Arabic. So now we know you cannot beat this level of attribution. Like even if you use a proxy, I mean, you're clearly from Arabic region. So for us, this was interesting, and it happens more than once. And so more so that out of 45 sessions, we found these languages. So not all sessions revealed the language, because most people are speak or read English. But so some that did, these were the languages. And I say languages, but we realize it's not language, it's alphabet, because it's the Arabic has many different languages, and Cyrillic, we saw Cyrillic, but we cannot say for sure it's Russian. There are many Cyrillic languages. But so this is the distribution of the alphabets that we found in the sessions. Now, another thing we found is, like, it's great for intelligence collection. So this is something we share because we're not an intelligence company, but we would like people to use it for intelligence purposes, to give a good scare to the adversaries. And so the person is putting in country code, a phone number, signing into Telegram. We're going to collect the credentials of the person. But then what's interesting is what's revealed after is like all the chat rooms that he is participating into. The private chats are there, and we see them interact. They use Telegram a lot to download and upload stuff. Like the porn I was talking about earlier, he would upload porn to himself via Telegram so that he can retrieve it on another system later. So he did log into the Telegram system. So we think that someone who really has the means, the analyst capacity to go after these types of threat actors would really find a lot of intelligence in these systems. Now it's time for the loot, the end game, the experience points. You survived. I have we're trying to make this presentation actionable. Like, I know that the videos are fun and they really relate, but we want people to really have ideas of stuff to do. So this section is comprehensive. So I wanted to share the honeynet environment that we built. And there's an emphasis here on you need to be able to destroy everything fast, because shit can go south. So when they are after Sony, you need to make sure it stops quickly. So the way to do that without losing evidence is by using a message queue. So this is the RabbitMQ part here. So the logs are streamed to RabbitMQ. This way I can destroy the kits, so the Windows and the PyRDP machines, together very quickly. The replay files, which are binary, at first I was using the message queue, but then I gave up, and we're using object storage instead. And so for object storage synchronization, we're using rclone. And then for investigation, we're using Elastic, querying Elastic via Jupyter, Python stuff. Like all of this is open source except Excel. It's not open source. But Excel has its limit, right? After 1 million rows, when you're doing graphs, it blows up, so you need other stuff. This is the two, decouple from the operating system. We use Docker Compose, and this is orchestrated via Terraform and put into GitLab CI/CD. This way, on my phone, I can log in and run a pipeline to destroy some of the honeypots if they get compromised. So this sounds great. I guess the takeaway is that it's always on fire. There's always a problem. Everything is broken, except, if you see, RabbitMQ. No fire on RabbitMQ. This thing has been running for 1,000 days without a reboot, okay? And never crashed. The first mistake I made is the queues were persisting to disk without a limit of file size. Made that mistake, and once I fixed that, 1,000 days of uptime without a crash, without a reboot, and it's obviously unpatched right now. But I was doing this yesterday, patching it. But so it's interesting because it's super reliable. The rest of it, nope. So the party, what I want you to remember is the Rangers are the largest group, and they identify systems and open the path to others. And we are clearly we're the ones we're after right now. We want to increase the credibility of our honeypot, you know, join it to a domain, have other systems behind, add a bunch of files. And these are the ones that we expect are going to change the behavior the most, or they're just going to do the same, but the adversary that comes after is going to have a different behavior. The Bards of questionable technical skills and appetite. The Thieves, which for me represent what cybercrime is about. It's opportunity, and it's like you were the one, unfortunately, you were not targeted, and they just run whatever they can run now to make money. The Wizards, which are mysterious and scary, and like I like to tell that they're like living off the land, you know, like red teamers would do. They like use system binaries, they don't drop anything else, so they're hard to detect. And the Barbarians, aggressive, brute forcing, you know, they exist because clearly, like we were deployed in Amazon, AWS, and I believe that a lot of Barbarian activity is because of that. Because organization probably whitelist Amazon's IP ranges because they have a lot of, you know, it's too intricate to allow specific code path. It's too complicated, the firewall management. So they whitelist the whole thing. And so this is why when the Barbarians gets in, they will rescan something they could have scanned from elsewhere. But they will rescan it from an Amazon IP. This is our theory anyway. So specific takeaways for researchers. RDP is ripe for attacker study. Everything is open source. Why not, right? Why don't you have your own findings and do that stuff? For blue teamers, consume the IOC and roll out your own traps. You could do it internally. You could do it exposed on the internet and gather your own intelligence. And also mess up with the adversaries. Like, one of our goals is, I'm trying to do it safely, but I want to do it on IP ranges. I'm from the French-speaking part of Canada, and we have partners there, and we want to deploy some banks or some hydro electricity stuff, and we want to see like how are they attacked differently than cloud stuff, right? And for law enforcement, we already collaborated with law enforcement for RDP interception, but I want more of them to know that it's possible and see it, because the intelligence that you collect from activity like that is of a higher value. Like imagine like phishing or spear phishing or spamming, okay? Instead of knowing, oh, this machine talks to Microsoft and Gmail, instead of having this super like encrypted and far visibility, now you see like when they build the phishing campaigns, you know the target, you know the victims. And I know that for law enforcement, having victims in your jurisdiction is key, right? So with this type of interception, and it was approved in the Netherlands a judge accepted the fact that there was RDP interception in place, so it's possible.